Hello everyone, my name is Caden Weist, and this is my digital reflection video 2 for my computer literacy class. We're going over chapters 8 through 14 in the reflection slides. So in chapter 8, we talked about app development. We talked about development roles and methods. Development is the process of creating apps from the idea stage to distribution to users. We talked about how to evaluate vendor proposals. It consists of 4 major tasks: identify technical specifications, and etc. We talked about project management techniques. We talked about one aspect of managing proposals and to ensure that everyone submits deliverables on time and according to plan. Charts can help to create, schedule, and assign tasks. How to select language and tools. When determining which language or tool to use, developers rely on the following guidelines. We talked about some of those guidelines: determining the devices on which the apps will run. Some platforms, such as Apple devices, have limited languages and tools available. We talked about how to license your app. When you create an app, you are protected under copyright laws even before you apply for them. In Chapter 9, we talked about web development. We talked about how to compare HTML5s, CSS, and JavaScript. We talked about tools for creating websites, such as website builders. We talked about using data tools and data analytics. Website analytics provide a set of measurements that help you understand how people use your website. And we talked about analytics data as well. We talked about how to build a website from code. We talked about how to publish a website online. In Chapter 10, we talked about networking. The elements of a network. A network switch is a device that connects two or more computers to a network by providing a central point of communication for cables in a network. We talked about network design, the network topology, the physical arrangement of computers and devices on a network that refer to as the network topology. We talked about network standards and protocols, and we also talked about the risks and benefits of using a network. In Chapter 11, we talked about digital communication. We talked about popular digital communication tools. Um, Digital communication is the transmittal of data, instructions, and information from one computer or mobile device to another, often via the internet. We talked about common types of written digital communications like blogs, a blogging network, Tumblr, and microblogs. We talked about common types of digital social networking. Social media refers to the ways individuals and businesses share information and interact using the internet. We talked about how to communicate with digital tools. Email is standards for your business or industry. We talked about digital calendars as well. We talked about the impact of digital communication in everyday life, from email to social networks to online purchases to life today is filled with digital communications of all kind, and nearly everyone feels their impact today. Chapter 12, we talked about digital communication. We talked about digital transformation is the integration of digital technologies into businesses, activities, organizational cultures, and customer experiences. We talked about common cloud models such as SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. We talked about the impact of virtual reality and robotics. Virtual reality is the use of computers to simulate a real or imagined environment that appears as a three-dimensional space. We talked about how AI supports smart devices and the Internet of Things. Chapter 13, we talked about digital communication. We talked about the importance of databases because a database allows you to efficiently collect, access, retrieve, and create reports of data. They are crucial to running many types of organizations. We talked about non-relational databases. We talked about organizer data in a database. Access, like most other DBMS, include both front end and back end elements. We talked about the impact of business intelligence. In Chapter 14, our final chapter, we talked about digital ethics and lifestyle. We talked about legal and ethical responsibilities of a digital citizen, follow digital laws to apply the technology to use, understand that ignorance of laws is not an excuse for misuse of technology, recognize limits and current laws, etc. We talked about a digital wellness plan, physical wellness, take hourly breaks, stretch, and avoid looking at the screen during breaks, avoid texting while walking to prevent accidents. We talked about behavioral and mental wellness as well. We talked about examples of deception and digital technology. Digital technology can be used to mislead, misrepresent, and manipulate people. Fake names or fake IDs can hide identity, and sometimes harmless, often misused. We talked about catfishing and deepfakes as well. We talked about how to safeguard your information, understand PPI, personally identifiable information. And we talked about where hackers could possibly access PIIs, like schoolwork databases, motor vehicles, insurance records, or retail businesses.